Case, because this does happen sometimes, the pump for the water is off. If you notice that the water is off, you have to go into this little closet here, right behind the door coming into the basement. You'll see a big cistern there and the pump. Behind the pump there's a little lever, okay, and you just have to kind of like pull the lever up just a little bit. If you pull it over too much, it's going to lock in place and then it won't work. You just kind of tilt it up and you'll hear the pump kick in, and that's it. It'll go. If you it's kind of like it's a safety, so you have to kind of get the feel for it. It's a little, I don't know how to explain it. It's not, if you push it all the way, it's kind of locked, and if you don't push it enough, it won't engage. You'll hear it engage. I'll try to take a photo of it. Let me see if I can do that. It is on Wi-Fi, but you can do it manually, so you just come over to it and you can adjust it here, and that's for the main house. The bedroom has a separate one. This one's not on Wi-Fi, and it's just manual. You adjust it, and that takes care of both bedrooms and the bathroom. So they're kind of right now set for the way they need to be for the animals, but if you're uncomfortable, you can change them. Just make sure that the living room does not get too cold at night, because the skinny pigs don't have hair, and that so I don't let it go below 69 in here. And then in the sunroom over here, you'll find a remote to turn this on and off. Sometimes if you try to turn it on and off from the front of it, it doesn't respond, so you pretty much have to use the remote. So the remote is right here on top of the file cabinet. And I sealed the windows up in here, so if you do want to sit out here, I would keep that on. During the day when you're home, I never leave that on when I'm not home, because I just don't trust it. But when you're home, I leave that running all day, because you have this door open, so you need to heat this room to keep the rest of the house warm. Just in case you want to light a fire, so I'll have some firewood here for you. And then all you have to do is, there's this chain here, okay? When it's closed, it's going to be latched here. So you want to make sure that that is closed when there's no fire and there's nothing still burning. If there's ash, leave it open, because you don't want carbon monoxide with the reptiles right there next to it. So I usually leave it open till I know there's absolutely nothing still burning. Then when you want to use it, just pop it off there. It'll be loose, and then you just put it in this little thing, otherwise it gets burnt. I did that today. And that keeps it open because it's spring loaded. And then the rest is self-explanatory. I have an ash pail right outside the sunroom if you need to clean any ash. Don't put it down. There's a plate here where it can drop down, and it's okay if some drops down there, but we don't have good access to clean it out, so I try not to get too much in there. And that's it for the fireplace. Just to show you how the stove works. So the stove is a convection stove top, induction, which means it doesn't get hot if you touch it, even though I wouldn't touch it after you've been cooking on it for a while. But it's not like electric. It actually works on magnetic, so all the pots have to have this thing on them. Those are the only pots that will work on the stove top. If you put glass or regular metal or ceramic or anything, it won't do anything. It'll just buzz. So when you turn it on, so you pick the head you want to use, the top, and then you just push in. Just give it a you know, a little bit of pressure, and then if you push plus, the P is for fast power, so it heats up very fast. So that if you push the plus, it'll go to that. If you push the negative, it goes down, and it goes all the way down to low. Okay? And then when you're done, you just push that off. And that's it. And then on the microwave, there's the light, if you need to see. You push high, low. And then there's the fan also up here. You need to use the fan. The microwave is self-explanatory. And then the oven is a convection oven, so you can use regular bake or you can use quick bake. Quick bake is convection, where it's the European type convection where the fan circulates the air so the whole thing gets hot. And then you would just use this to turn it off if you do use the oven. And that's pretty much it. It's just to remember to always use these kinds of pots on the stovetop. And that's it. Tutorial on the washing machine process for the pig stuff versus your clothes. So, when you get the dirty pig stuff down here, after you've made sure that you've shaken off whatever debris is in there, I usually take it to the back deck and shake it over the deck.
Low power.
Put them in kind of folded with the soiled side out. So what I usually do is I do the upstairs ones in one wash and then the downstairs ones in the next wash. So once you get all the pieces in, okay, we're going to do a special wash load. So what we use to get the smell out is vinegar. So in the bleach area, you put a little bit of vinegar, and in the softener area, you put a little bit of vinegar. This washing machine is set up with an oxygenator, so we don't need to use detergent on our clothes, but we do on the pig's clothes. So, but very little, and the machine often gets stuck partially through the wash because you're not supposed to use that in the oxygenator. So you'll put it on, and then for the oxygenator to work, you do a cold wash. Actually, you could do a hot wash for the pig stuff while we're gone, so you don't have to even worry about it, because otherwise it shuts down, which I'll show you in case it does that when you're doing your clothes. So you can leave it on hot then, and then just push the button and it'll start. And I leave it on heavy duty for the pig stuff. So that's washing their clothes, and then of course drying them, which is self-explanatory. After you've done the load of theirs and the ones down here, all the pig stuff is done, then you should run one wash of this. So there are little tablets in here, so this way when you do your clothes, the machine is clean. There's a clean wash cycle. You turn it to that, let it run through the whole cycle, and then it's good to go for human clothes. So with human clothes, you're going to use the oxygenator. You know, if you have a stain on something, you can use a little bit of detergent on the clothes before you put them in. But don't put anything in here unless you want to put softener or something. But actually, we have the scented stuff you can pour into the bottom of the tin. And then before the wash starts, so you push the power button on, then you select cold, okay, because the oxygenator does not work unless it's cold. You'll just wind up doing a regular wash without detergent. And then when you can select tumble dry, extra, whatever you want. And then when it's done, you put the stuff in the dryer. Self-explanatory, I'm over explaining this stuff. Anyway, the other thing I want you to know though is sometimes it gets stuck in cycle, and if you push the buttons it won't do anything. So what you have to do is push the power off button. It'll drain everything out, and then you have to start over. It only does it one time, so it's usually if there's too much detergent and the oxygenator shuts down the machine. So you just have to power it off. It'll be beeping. You'll know it stopped in the middle of the cycle because it won't have finished, and everything will be wet and you won't be able to open the door. So you just push the power button and it'll flush out, and then you have to start over. So no better time than to show you this than when the power goes out. So last night, in the middle of the night, we had a bad storm and we lost a huge 30-foot pine tree down on the front lawn, and we lost power in the neighborhood. And it is getting very cold, so the reptiles cannot go for more, and the skinny pigs too actually, can't go for very long with it dropping below 60. And it's already dropped below 60 in the house, so it's really getting cold. So I had to stay home from work and run the generator 6 days before leaving for my trip. So I'm going to show you how the generator works, because it's not automatic and it's not hooked up to the fuse box, so you have to run electrical cords. So the generator's out here. Okay, I'm going to, before I open the door because it's loud, it's out in front of the sunroom, inside this thing, on the side. Pretty self-explanatory. You open the doors, you can pull it out, which is what I did. It's on wheels. And then when you get it out, you get it started. The instructions are on the side of it. And then you run these two green wires into the house. The light green and the dark green. The light green goes downstairs to plug in the water pump so that you have water. I will show you that first. And you could, if it's really cold, you could run another cord from this cord over to the guinea pigs and plug their heat lamp in, so they at least have heat and light down here. So I'm not going to be able to show you this in the dark. Okay. Up to you, Hannah. Let me just show you. Yeah. So, anyway, you can see, you go into the closet where the water pump is, and you will see an orange plug. You unplug that from the outlet and plug it into the extension cord. Then the first dark green wire comes into the house. You roll it out, and it's going to have this long 3-prong thing attached to it. And what you're going to do is you're going to run over to the day geckos, because they can't go without the heat, and just unplug the whole unit. See? This whole unit. And plug it into the extension cord. Okay, and then you just push the little button on the timers to turn them on manually, because obviously they're not going to be hooked up to the Wi-Fi. So that is them. So you unplug the thing with the timer, and then you have another extension cord, which I have to run over here from there back into Amneris, and you just unplug her thing from the wall and plug it in there, and the entire lighting system will come on. Then you run, for now, since we have the babies, we run one over to them and just plug their timer in, and then manually put their lights on. They had me the most concerned, because I could tell they were cold. They were below 60, and they're too young to not have heat right away. Right now we don't have the skinny pigs hooked up, but I ran another green wire here that has 3 things on the end. So you use one to go over to Karma, and the same thing, unplug the white wire here. That takes care of the lights. Don't worry about the mister. That's not so important. That's the top timer. That we don't need to worry about. You can mist by hand for a couple of days. So just make sure that his lights go on. And then we run the other one in here. I was also worried about them. They drop down to 60. And their whole system with their thermostat and everything is plugged in over here behind this dresser. Okay, so you go behind this dresser and unplug the black cord that goes over to the surge protector thing, and just plug it into the orange cord. And that pretty much takes care of making sure all the reptiles have heat. Because even if it gets cold in the house and in the rooms, you will keep them alive by just making sure their lights are on, because they need the heat. Now, Bert and Bernie, the other pigs have hair. They're just like the dogs. If you get the fireplace going and stuff, that should be enough. But Bert and Ernie are probably going to get very cold very fast, and their body temperature can't drop. I mean, their body temperature is usually in the 80s, so they're a little hot water bottle, so they can get cold very fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get their lights on, and I'm going to get the fire going. And if it gets really cold, I'm going to take the 2 of them out, the 2 skinny pigs. The other pigs are kind of okay, and we're going to put them in these and hold them. Okay, if it's really cold, I doubt in November it'll be that cold, but if it's really cold, then you're going to have to keep them warm in these little puff things until the power comes back on and the house heats back up. And the dogs are a little confused and unhappy. The ducks are okay without power, so they're fine out there. You just got to make sure you run water out to them and stuff. So the water will work once you plug that in to the generator. The pump will work and you'll have water. I wouldn't worry about the other electronics and stuff. It's hopefully not more than a couple of hours that the generator will need to stay on. So all of these wires and stuff, I'm going to keep them while I'm away in a bin near the generator so that you don't have to go looking for them. And you just got to try to remember that the long green one is the main one, dark green one. The light green one it's really long, so you could use that either to get to the water pump, or you can use a different one to get to the water pump and use that for someplace else that's further down the house. Okay, that's about it.